Voices Radio.
Me dice cosas al oído y yo pierdo los sentidos y hacemos lo indebido. Fumamos y seguimos, no paramos y me dice cosas al oído y yo pierdo los sentidos y hacemos lo indebido. Fumamos y seguimos.
Yes, people, D-Kel Voices Radio. Here are my special guests, Sachellys. How we doing?
I'm good, thank you, D-Kel. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not too bad. It's Wednesday. The weather was actually alright today.
It was
Hay
decent.
fever season though. I've been sneezing.
It was
They had to get me
I
out
don't suffer with hay fever at all. I'm one of the lucky ones.
Fair.
I'm one of the lucky
Is it happy
ones.
belated? Was it your birthday recently?
It was.
Are you a May baby?
I'm an April baby.
April.
About May baby.
Okay, my birthday's in 2 days. Okay, what, you Taurus?
I'm a Taurus.
Okay, I'm
yeah,
Taurus as well, so we're all on the same side.
Are you?
Yeah.
Hey.
My birthday's in 2 days.
Swear.
Yeah.
Taurus babies.
Yeah, early celebration.
Big up
of
every
voices.
Taurus.
Come on. But yeah, so how we been? What we been up to? What's recent? What's new?
Making music. Always making music.
Yeah, so like I discovered your music probably like when I say 2020, 2019. I went to, it's called Colours now, but it used to be called Hoxton Bar and Grill.
Okay.
You had a show there.
Hoxton Bar and
Yeah,
Grill.
you had a show there with Stephanie
Wow.
Santiago. I remember because I
Oh
came
my
to see
god,
both of
yeah, I
you.
remember.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy. That was a very long time
it's
ago.
a minute. So yeah, I've been following your journey and that, from like acoustic guitars and covers and that, and yeah, it's nice to see like where you're at now. Like you've definitely developed your own sound,
Fine.
and the catalogue's healthy. Like when I was trying to pick songs, there are too many songs to include. My show's 1 hour, and I was like, what shall I pick?
Can't
What shall
put
I
all
pick?
her songs
But
in there.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's very impressive to see the work. But I think like we'll get into it in a bit actually, because you kind of never stopped. Lockdowns, no lockdowns. You were always kind of putting out
It was
music, man.
yeah.
And like quality stuff as well with the visuals and everything.
The craziest thing is you say that it's you say that it looked consistent, but to me I didn't feel like I was being consistent
Yeah,
enough.
fair.
Like it's crazy because I feel like I was only releasing 2-3 songs a year, and I wanted to be releasing monthly. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the stuff you see that's out, it's a lot, but there's more.
Yeah, of course.
There's more that I haven't released, and I think it's just been a case of me getting to the point where I believe that the material that I've made is good enough to put out.
Yeah,
know
I
what I'm
think,
saying?
and that's healthy that you have that catalogue, because I think a lot of artists make that mistake where they'll make a song. Sorry, that's my phone, man. That's proper rude. Like they'll make a song that's like this is like sick. This is the one. They'll release it, but they'll have nothing to follow up with because they got
Exactly.
too excited with the release of that
Exactly.
one. It happens to me all the time. Me and my band, we're like, yeah, let's just drop this and whatever. And then like you don't do a tune for like a year or something or 6 months. But obviously you kind of have that mentality of having a catalogue, and that's very important. But before we get into all of that, like the way I ask all my guests, how did it start? How did life start? Not just musically, but how did you end up in this beautiful city that we call London?
I was born in Colombia, a little town called Bucala Grande, El Valle del Cauca,
Okay.
south sides of the CO. And my parents came over here when I was 3. They brought me over when I was 3, so I was raised there, born in Colombia, raised there. Started making music. I don't know. I can't. Every time people ask me this, I don't really know when I started actually singing. Like, it kind of. I remember I liked watching X Factor,
Okay.
and that's what kind of. And I remember it was like Leona Lewis time, and I wanted to
Oh,
like
yeah,
be
yeah,
her. You know.
When they had like proper singing.
Yeah, and I would sing it. I would sing in my room
Okay.
quietly, and then when I got into school, I chose music.
Yeah.
I chose all the performing arts side of stuff.
Okay,
and,
so that kind of thing. Yeah.
and my mum put me in guitar lessons, and then that was it.
Did you feel that learning an instrument from an early age helped you with like co-producing? Because I've done a lot of instruments when I was younger, and I never really kept it up, but it does help me a lot when I'm in the studio and I'm working with a producer. Yeah, have you found that helps? I guess it does, really, because you can just write a chord and like do a little demo.
Basically, I think 90% of my songs I've written on the guitar first, and I take
Okay.
them into the studio,
Yeah,
and then the producer, we work around what I've already got.
Sick.
Like, so I go in with like a set idea, and then we'll record that in, and then we'll work around all the melodies that I've already got. We'll add to that production. In most of my songs, I play the guitar as well. I'm not like the best guitarist, but
you can.
I just play it in. Yeah, I just play it in, and then we work around whatever we have.
Do you know what? Some
basically,
of the best musicians are like that. They're not actually an expert at their instrument, or they're self-taught. And
they're
stuff.
self-taught. Yeah.
One of my favorite artists is Ryan Leslie. Like people know him probably from like producing Cassie, but if you research the man's a
he's
genius.
sick.
He's
yeah,
gone. But he's not like an expert at all them instruments. He just knows how to play tutu, guitar, piano. When it all comes together, it's a beautiful thing, man. And I actually met him briefly a few years ago at one of his lectures, and yeah, it was proper interesting seeing the way, like, the importance that he said of like live instrumentation
100%
was in his music. So the next song I'm going to play here, but before I play it, and it's your track, Quien Fue.
Yeah.
Did you make it while you was in Colombia?
Nah, this song was already done. We mixed
Okay.
and mastered it when I was out in Colombia.
Okay.
And the story behind that is crazy, because there was on one of the words, as like the P, there was too much pop in it.
Okay.
Like it was
the pop filter was not
yeah,
packing
it wasn't. It was the pop filter did not work on that P, and I kept telling my producer, like, I need to find a studio out here in Colombia to get this, like, all of this
mad.
re-recorded, but. It being like one of my first, like, basically the first time me being out there on my own, I was like, I don't know how am I gonna get into a studio? Like,
Was that in the midst of lockdown though?
It wasn't. I got stuck out there.
Yeah, because I remember like seeing your stories. I was like, "There's worse place to be stuck out there."
Yeah,
my mum was stuck out the same
it was
time.
a blessing. It was a
Yeah.
blessing. Like I ended up spending 7 months out there.
Mad.
But that one little vocal and an ad lib, I recorded it on my phone, like it was in like my cousin's wardrobe or something.
Yeah.
Literally sent it over to him. He mixed it. He fixed the vocals basically, and we replaced it.
Yeah.
So
you see,
that's the
Colombian man, when it comes
process.
to mixing,
That's the
they know what they're
process, man.
doing.
That was the process.
They'll
No,
work with what they got.
we got it mixed and mastered here, but that little vocal, I had to record it out there, send it to my producer here.
Right.
He fixed it.
Yeah.
It was mad, and then I recorded the video out there. That was the first
Yeah,
time
the
I done
video
a
was
video
cold.
out. Yeah,
That's what I was
the
gonna
video's
say.
hard.
The video was
yeah.
hard, like, because I think when that came out, and I always say this, like, I don't know, like, I see a lot of like artists and I get sent a lot of tracks, and we live in an age where everything's so visual. Especially for me, like my 9 to 5 is quite a visual job, so like I don't really like. If this sounds bad, but if someone has a track out, I won't listen to it unless it's got like a visualizer.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? I kind of had same thing.
Which
kind
is
of
bad,
happens,
really,
yeah.
because the tune could be banging, and sometimes I get caught out, and people are like, "Bruv, you're bare late. You ain't heard, this and that."
Yeah.
But I guess it's like the same way people learn in certain ways. I receive music in certain ways.
Yeah.
But I remember watching that video. I was like, "Oh, this is dope. Like, it's proper. Like, set a level and set a bar."
Thank you.
I think out of all the songs, that is like actually my favorite. I think
Really,
like, the melody,
I think that's a lot
the
of
flow,
people's favorite.
You're in the pocket.
honest.
Like if you was a rapper, it'd be hard. Like,
That
you
song,
go in.
I think that was the first song that got playlisted as well.
Okay.
Like it got playlisted on two of I think it was Fresh Finds.
Yeah.
And then like one of like Latin playlists.
Nice.
So I knew, okay, that song, people liked it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites as well, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't pick a favorite because I like all my music.
Yeah.
But definitely one of like the ones that I think set a little bar for me.
Yeah,
to be
definitely,
honest.
man. Well, let's
Personal.
get into it. Sachellys, Quien Fue.
Solo me queda decirte que en este juego fuiste tú que perdiste. ¿Quién fue? ¿Quién me dijo que no iba a volver? Pero sigue imaginándome encima de ti. En mi noche de noche yo sabía que te iba a arrepentir. ¿Quién fue? ¿Quién me dijo que no iba a volver?
Yes, people, that was Sachellys with Quien Fue. Yeah, man, the production on that one's cold.
It's
do you
cold,
always
innit?
work with the same producer, or do you have like a team and like a range of producers?
So originally I was working with a producer called Jason Julian.
Okay.
So he was the first producer that I started doing any Spanish music with.
Right.
And then since then we've just kind of expanded. From when I went to Colombia, I worked with some producers out there, came back, and then I kind of had to find my feet again over here.
Okay, yeah.
Worked with other people, and I'm working with another producer called Ruben Joy at the moment. He's
Okay.
hard as well. He's really dope.
Was you making Spanish music before you had gone out to Colombia for that period of time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I started making Spanish or music in Spanish or writing in Spanish, it's kind of mad because I started writing R&B. Like I only used to sing R&B. I only used to sing in
I
English.
think when I discovered you, was on that vibe, and you was even working with a few like the R&B like scene in this country. I don't want to upset anyone, but it's kind of small, like it's a small pocket.
Yeah.
So when I saw them, it's like, oh yeah, I know man, I know this producer.
And it was usually the people that I'd find when I was doing them acoustic shows.
Yeah,
like those acoustic shows, I'd meet loads of producers and I'd go to the studio. But I never, like, I don't want to say that I never found my sound or my place within that. It was just when I actually started writing in Spanish, that's when I said, okay, cool, like this is it, like I can express myself. Oh yeah, 100%.
That yeah, actually this is my pocket.
And it's been weird because obviously I started doing Spanish music. I remember Jason was like, you know, you need to get into the whole Latin vibe because that's going to blow in about 4 years. And then we had the whole J Balvin situation and Maluma and all of that period. So he was right. But yeah, I started writing in Spanish and English, and then I went into writing only in Spanish. And then I've come back around again, so I'm doing it. I had to go through like that process because I had a point where I didn't want to write in English at all.
It's a beautiful thing. You've got them options.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because like there's certain you can do both simultaneously. You don't like. Do you know what I mean? Like there's certain nights, like I'll be honest, like myself, me and my band got songs in the Spanish, but like they're not gonna be on the level as an actual Spanish-born speaking artist, do you know what I mean? But we'll mix and blend it, we'll switch it up, do you know what I mean? Whereas it's quite rare to find someone who's can just switch from back and forth. Like I've had S.I. Statue on here, he's another person that is very talented in that sense, like
really dope.
And I've had a few other people, but yeah, that's dope, man. So doing this, so moving on from that, you creating Spanish in music, and I say this to a lot of artists just when I'm like in a pub or something with a fandom. I say like for Latin artists, the way artists treat America, so you know like there's artists in America that can just tour America and live off that. I always say that Latin artists based in the UK should look at Europe like they're America and travel around and sort of dominate that. So one of the things I kept seeing like a few times, you've been out in Spain, you performed in Spain.
100,
what would you like? One, how did that come about? And two, like, what were the differences in terms of like the reception that you felt there of your music? And the reason why I asked that is because every time I have someone on the show, I ask them a question about where have you performed, and they always say London's dead. I used to be one of them people that used to agree all the time. I think London's just a bit stush and we're sport for choice. I wouldn't say it's dead. I've had some good shows in London, but did you feel like it was different? And yeah, how did the opportunity come about? Because I think they were quite big shows, no?
Yes, I opened for, that was a blessing. I opened for Andy Rivera.
Yeah.
Twice. So I opened for him in Madrid, and then I opened for him in, where was it? Oh my God, I forgot. It was Madrid and it was Valencia.
Okay.
And it was Valencia. It was dope. That was a sick experience. It was, I mean, Madrid, I don't think I was prepared enough. I thought I was just going to go up there and it was going to be like a London show. I didn't rehearse enough for it. I went up there and I was nerve-wracking.
Okay.
But I kind of, it worked because I'd done an acoustic cover of a salsa song and everyone sang it with me. So
smart.
Yeah, so everyone sang it with me, and then I was in the middle of my set, and then I went back into my other song, and then everyone was already vibing because they had already connected to that song that they were familiar with.
Okay.
And then when I done the show in Valencia, I really rehearsed for that. I actually rehearsed, like we rehearsed, and I took Jonan out to that one. So I took him out to both of them, but I only performed. I performed in the first one on my own, and then the second one I said, all right, we had just dropped Sachellys.
I think he's out in Colombia at the moment.
He's back now. He's back, yeah.
You're like a stalker out here, bruv. I'm following everyone's.
He was out there for a minute as well. I think he was out there for like 7 months.
I'm assuming he's been creating, so I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, he's dope. He's like one of my favorite artists. Yeah, I really like him. He's really talented young boy. But we went out there. We rehearsed. The reception there was crazy. Like they were receptive.
Nice.
It's different. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'd say London crowd's a bit tough to please, and I've always said, like, with the Latin community here, these shows I'm always going to see the same faces. I need to be stepping out somewhere else. So we all need to do this, like we need to at least a different city or something, because it's just the same faces, and you get comfortable. That's my comfort zone now. I don't like, I still get nervous. I'm not gonna say I don't, because
human emotion.
Exactly, I get nervous when I'm gonna come up, when I get on stage, but that experience in Spain was a different level.
I get that.
Yeah,
I think it's a conversation I have with a lot of like UK Latin-based artists that they say exactly the same thing, and even conversations off air that I've had with certain artists and I've like not told them not to do those shows because especially our scene is just like sort of in our baby steps.
Yeah.
But I feel like our genre's crossed over so much now that there are opportunities there. We just need to make more noise so non-Latin people take notice of like, there's actually UK Latin people here that make music. But I do agree that, you know, the club shows are great, everything's wonderful, but like you are performing fundamentally to the same crowd.
Yeah.
It's nice to do them every 6 months to keep, you know, that core fan base.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, like doing it every 2 weeks, bro.
We get it. We've been to the same places now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's
and talking about traveling and working with people, like you speaking earlier with producers. I had D-Zeus on the show a few months ago.
Oh my boy. He's dope as well.
Yeah, and I like the track actually because for you, I found it a bit different because he's obviously very into his drill and trap. Even for me, time I'm on the show, it was different because like, I don't really play a lot of drill and trap.
Okay, yeah.
But I know he's like family to me. Like him and his brother go way back. Like I know him.
They've been doing music for time as well. Like, his brother as well.
So I was talking to him because he's obviously gone the production route and learnt from Dukus and all that kind of stuff. And then he's obviously got this track that he produced with yourself and Dukus. Was it like challenging at all just to like work in that trap drill remit, or are you going to tell me that you're like the maddest trap fan?
No, it wasn't. Do you know what? It wasn't challenging. I'm not the maddest trap drill fan. I'm not going to lie. It's not like my top 3 or even top 5. To be honest, you know what I'm saying?
It is smooth.
But it just kind of, I don't know. I got into the studio and we just let things run. I got in there, I wrote it I wrote him, I was sitting next to him and I wrote it, and he was kind of surprised as well that I kind of I think it depends with me, like if the chord progression's good, I'm gonna write to it, like it's gonna flow, and that's exactly what happened. I got in the studio, he had already sent me it, and I remember I said I'm gonna take it home, I'm gonna write to it, and I didn't work on it, and on my way there, at the time I was driving there and I wrote like the beginning of the verse on my way there. And I got there and I showed him. He was like, oh my days, that's hard. And then obviously that kind of boosted me.
And sometimes that pressure that helps a lot. Like,
and I finished it off and then we just recorded it. And to be honest, sounds all right.
Yeah, that's good.
It sounds decent.
Without further ado, then this is D-Zeus, the Hit Room episode 1. Sachellys Dukus.
No me dejes esperando, baby, pon la alarma, tienes cita en mi cama y ya no aguanto. Todas estas ganas quiero que me coma hoy hasta mañana.
Yo, we're back in the studio. I was just discussing my birthday and my age, but we don't need to get into that right now. That was Sachellys Dukus, D-Zeus, the Hit Room episode 1, man. Big song. I like that one. So going back to just before we were talking about songwriting, English and Spanish. So how long have you been making music for roughly? I'll say about maybe 5 years, maybe more. Like as in putting out music.
Putting out music. I started. I think the first song I dropped was in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, but it was the only song I dropped in that year. It was one of them ones. It's one of them ones. I dropped something and I didn't have nothing to. I did, but I just didn't. Yeah, it's been hard to kind of find that balance between the English and the Spanish. Now I think I'm at the space where okay, cool, I found it. I'm happy to release this stuff. But back then, because I was just starting to tap into it, I only released that song.
I think you can see it as well. Like I said, like when we first started talking on the show, is that listen to your music now, listen to the latest releases. You're obviously on a roll, releasing music, putting music out there, consistency, and you have definitely found your own sound. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely, I couldn't there's a lot of artists that are good, but I can listen to someone else and be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of that person. You definitely got like a uniqueness there, and that you're really tapping into. So props to yourself. My next question was going to be, now that you've released music for a few years, you've done a few shows in the UK, done a few shows abroad, what would you say, not necessarily as a Latin UK artist, or as a Latin artist, or as a UK artist, or as a female artist, in the UK doing your music, what are some of the challenges that you face?
I think, personally, it has been finding that balance, literally. I feel like growing up, I was a bit, and especially starting with the whole R&B thing and then tapping into the Latin thing, a bit lost, like trying to, I've got this English culture and I've got this Latin culture, and like I'm trying to find where I fit, really.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can identify with that.
Definitely.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and then when I was doing R&B, I felt like, all right, cool, like, because I studied in a British school. Yeah, everyone was listening to R&B, especially the American R&B back then. I felt like it was cool, like, all right. But it wasn't really me until I started doing the Latin music. So I think now that's been one of the biggest challenges, trying to find that balance. And it's taken me a long time to finally get to this point where I say, well, like you said, it's like I found my sound. I feel like I found my sound, and I feel comfortable going into the studio, writing in both languages. So that's been the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I think you touched on something that I probably had this conversation with everyone. I just done a podcast recently where I spoke about that kind of, not identity crisis, but especially as a creative, when you're from like a small minority like in London, say like we're all Latinos, like it's difficult to kind of fit in, especially when you're putting out music and whatnot. Like, and I think everyone that I've interviewed feels that, unless like, there's a few artists that I've spoken to where they might have come here when they're a bit older. So yes, they're based in the UK, but they might have grown up in Spain, or they might have just came over from Colombia, so they feel like, no, like man's Colombian, or I grew up in Spain, so it's fully Spanish. I don't really know about UK culture. Like, I embrace it, but I'm not really cut from that cloth. But like for me, growing up was like Average jackets and 110s. Like, man didn't know about
straight,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, from the block. So like,
it was weird. I don't know, because like in my house, it's really Colombian.
Yeah.
Sancocho, empanadas, all of that. And then outside, I'm stepping outside and I'm listening, and I'm wearing a trackie with Air Max and all of this, and it's like, where's the balance? Yeah. In my head, it was very confusing growing up. And I think it translated in my music as I was growing up. It's only now where I'm comfortable. Yeah. And I got to spend time in Colombia. I got to spend those 7 months that opened that door. It's like a pool for me, and be like, all right, cool. Like, this is, I wasn't raised in Colombia, but this is where I'm from. Do you know what I'm saying? And I was raised in London, and this is home as well. Yeah. Because even when I was in Colombia for 7 months, I miss London. Yeah, of course. Like, it's home.
And,
do you know
and
what
your
I'm
music probably in Spanish, subconsciously, even the production will have influences from stuff you've heard in London.
100%.
You know what I mean? And I think, like, there must be something in the air at the moment, because I think now, especially now, that, like, for UK Latinos, we are actually embracing that kind of like British Latino vibe. You know, like when you go like LA, and like Latinos, they have their own culture, like, and the same in Miami, same in New York, like the Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, they have their own vibe. I think UK Latinos are beginning to accept it. Like, yeah, we're Latinos, but we've got a little twist. We've got this little British twist.
It's
like,
cool.
It's like that Patrick Vale tune I played, that One Archer tune. You ain't never heard. I've never heard like such a British
accent,
like, brothers proper spitting British bars. Whereas if you'd done that 5 years ago, people are like, bro, what are you doing?
It's a bit weird.
But now it bangs and people can identify with it. Especially like the younger generations, they're going to be like, this literally represents like me.
Exactly. I mean? Like, I feel like we're paving the way for them, essentially. We are.
Definitely.
And it's have you seen that hashtag on TikTok? British Latinos.
Nah.
And it's got like, the people are getting like millions of views because people are like, oh my days, you are Latino. Yeah. But you have a British accent. Like, no one's ever heard that. No one's ever heard that. And people are shocked. And that's been me all my life.
Yeah, for real.
Basically. So it's a bit, I don't know, it's just a case of embracing it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to embrace it, because, you know, identity is so key to creativity and music. And I think once you know your identity, it's that old saying, it's like, if you know where you're from, you know where you're going, you know them ones. So like, if we know what we do, like if we know like what we're putting into our music, then once we put it out, it's a very vulnerable thing to put out music, because it's like, it's there for interpretation. So once it's out there, if you can say hand on heart, this is true to me, this is who I am, you're going to win either way. It might take a little bit longer for people to catch up to clock on.
It's authenticity,
exactly.
The word. Exactly. I was in a studio the other day, and I was with Shaz, my manager, and we were talking, going back and forth. So there was a few people in the studio, and we were talking, and we're going through from English to Spanish, and we're crossing over. And then one of the guys was just sat there staring at us, and we stopped for a second, and he's like, that is mad. I can't believe you guys are like crossing over. And I said to him, that's exactly what I want to represent in my music, because that is who I am. It's natural to me to if I'm talking to someone that is from Colombia and speaks Spanish, and I know that they are British, we're gonna go back and forth in Spanglish. It's just natural. It's natural. So that if that's how I talk on a daily basis, I have to put that in my music, because that's who I am.
For real. And
that's what I represent.
About music, I'm trying to, like, the catalogue's immense, so I'm gonna try and get a few more in. This is Sachellys La Gloria.
Hago todo lo que deseas, y lo hacemos donde tú quieras. You can take me high, take me low, take me in, take me out, take me off, take me home.
Yes, people, Sachellys La Gloria. This is telling me unsupported file format, but the rhythm's played, so we're supporting it. I don't know what's happening. Technical difficulties.
It was meant to be.
Yes, indeed. So tell me about the process of that particular one, because it was a little bit like, when I heard that one, it seemed a lot more deeper with your songwriting, much more kind of sensual, that record.
La Gloria, we wrote that. It was a completely different sound when we actually wrote it. And we wrote it with a writer. Her name is Linya.
Okay.
Linya, she's dope. He used to get Linya he used to get her in most of my sessions. Okay. But she writes in English, so that was when I was writing English tracks. Oh, mad. And then this was the second song we worked together. Right. First one was the first track I dropped, Could You Be? And this one, and then she even said to me, you need to start writing more in Spanish. So that's where the Spanish basically came into the song. And I think it was just a time that I wanted to be I felt a bit more comfortable in my skin. Yeah. So I was talking in in that way,
space.
to be honest,
Yeah,
in that space, headspace. So
Yeah.
and it comes across in the song as well.
Yeah,
And then we didn't release it. Months later, maybe even a year later, we came back to it, and I didn't like it anymore. So I told Jason, the producer at the time, I want to refix it completely.
Okay.
And he had the vocals, and I wanted to. I think from this point onwards, I wanted to tap into more of the Afrobeat sounds.
Yeah.
So that's why it sounds more like Kizomba, more along those lines. And then and from there we worked on a lot more like Afrobeat stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of opened the door, to be fair.
Like I said earlier, I can see you're quite consistent with your work. Speaking to you off air, on air, I can see you're serious about your craft. How do you maintain like the because we all got lives, we all got stuff we need to do in our lives. So how do you maintain that kind of like morale to like, you know, go studio and do this and do that and keep pushing and keep releasing music? Is it the people around you, or do you feel like it's something within yourself, or maybe a bit of both, obviously? But do you have a good team around you, or is it you that's kind of like pulling the parts together, saying, right now we need to hit the studio, like, come on guys? Or, like you mentioned your manager, so like have you always been with the same manager? How did you meet? Have they moved you for a long time?
I think, my manager, so I've got two managers. I've got Shaz, who just came into the picture a few months ago, earlier this year. So she's been with me for 3 months. And then I've had a manager.
Probation period.
Yeah, probation period. And then I've been working with Aspie, who's in the States for 2 years. I met him out in Colombia.
Nice.
But before that, I didn't have management. It was just pretty much me.
Yeah. One
Pulling
question
my weight.
I get asked a lot is... like, how do I get management? Like, because I've had management, not had management, had terrible managers, fired managers, had booking agents. Nah, I just can't bother with anyone at the moment.
Yeah.
But for artists that, you know, some artists crave a manager, and I always say, do you need one though? Like, think about it, do you actually need one? If you're just releasing it, do you need one? But what would you say to get an attention of a manager, or when do you think the best time is to get management or reach out and try and network them sort of spaces?
I'm not going to lie, like, the whole management situation for me just kind of fell on my lap because I was out in Colombia and he messaged me on Instagram. He found me on Spotify. He liked my music. He connected me to some producers.
Okay.
We met up in Cali. We met up in the studio.
Nice.
And then he flew back to the States. And then 2 months later, I was out in Miami, you know. I was out in Medellin working on Quien Fue.
Okay.
And he was there as well. So then we
right.
met up again. And by then he had already looked at my catalogue. He had researched me.
Okay.
He had heard my interview because I was doing like little radio runs over there. And he liked my stuff. So it kind of just
made sense.
It made sense. It kind of just all connected.
Organic.
Before that, I don't know, like I never worked, I didn't have a manager, or I was just kind of basically running like on my own, to be fair. I don't know like how that whole management thing works. To be fair, it kind of just all connected for me, thank God. But I do think you need a manager.
Yeah.
I do think you need a manager. Like, they have a lot more connections than you do, and sometimes you like putting all that work on yourself is too much. I just want to create, man. I just want to create. I just want to get in the studio and make music. I don't want to do all that admin stuff and all the rest of it. I had to do it for such a long time, and it takes a lot of time. Do you know what I'm saying? So being able to have someone that helps you and that has that creative input as well is important.
I guess it takes away from, like, because I hate doing the admin stuff for my band. I'm always like chasing a promoter or chasing to get paid for this show or doing all that. Like, I hate it.
Yeah.
So I guess having that manager like to take care of that stuff, you can fully concentrate on the creativity. And I guess
100%.
I hear that, man. Well, it sounds like you're in a good space. You know, 2 managers each side of the pond. Shaz just passed the
Thank
probation,
God.
so we're winning. We're good. This is another track, one of my favourites. It's a 2-way thing, innit?
Well, I'm passing as well, man.
So let's celebrate that with this one. This is Sachellys Tiempo.
I could give it all to you, baby. Todo lo que quieras te lo doy. I could give it all to you, baby. Solo necesitas darme.
Yes, people, Sachellys Tiempo. It's that sad time, man. Every time I have a guest, it's never like long enough. I feel like we can really get into the gems here. But quickly, before I premiere your brand new song, Cada Esquina, tell me a little bit about it. How did it come about? Why this song?
Cada Esquina. I wrote that in October last year. 30th of October, to be precise. Oh, is it August?
See, that's when you know the man is on point. and her place, boy, with the dates.
It's actually mad. Like, yeah, I wrote on it was on the 30th of August. I don't know. I was at home. I had a moment, like I had a month of just my creativity was flowing, like it was crazy. Nice. So I had written about 5 songs in a week, and it was in a space of a week. And this one was the one that I thought, okay, cool, I'm gonna run with this one and finish it from finish to end. Because usually I'll start writing, I'll write a bit, I'll come back to it another day, and I felt a deeper connection with this one. Okay, Kaya Skina. I took it into the studio with Ruben like 2 months later. About 2 months later, showed him. Same process. I wrote it with him because I recorded it in, recorded the guitars in, recorded the vocals, and then we reworked it again. Nice. So we wrote it together again. And then we carried on working on the project. A couple months later, Sharon's now in the picture. She's like, "Where's the English?" Okay. Because it was all in Spanish. So we then put a bunch of English into that section, a dancehall vibe to it. And yeah, it's dope. I hope you guys enjoy it, man. Kaya Skina is a nice little blend of Colombia and London right there for you. Yeah? It's out tomorrow. No, it's out tonight at midnight. Video's out tomorrow at 7 p.m. Visualizer's out tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Nice. All
songs out tonight on all streaming platforms.
Come on.
For you guys to listen to.
Okay, any final words? Not that you're on your deathbed, but...
Mama, I love you. No, thank you. Thank you, D. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for your time. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this new track, and follow me on all my socials.
Which are?
I am Sachellys.
Nice and simple.
And that's, it's the same on every social.
Lovely. Voices Radio. I've been D-Kel, special guest Sachellys, the Club of Vibes. We're going out with this one, Cada Esquina.
Enjoy, que nota. Ven, quítame esta ganas de besarte, y yo te quito las ganas de tocarme. Y es que hay algo de ti que me tiene loquita loca. Quiero tener